also offers independence. So this morning, we are moving beyond the frustrations of power outages to exploring a sustainable way out. So is solar energy the ultimate fix, or is the cost of entry too high for Nigerians? So let's quickly break down the myths, the maths, and the mechanics of switching to the sun. And the topic, energy crisis, solar as an alternative. Well, we have in the studio some of you, Showumi, an energy expert, also the secretary, Licensed Electrical Contractors Association of Nigeria. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so very much. Good morning, listeners. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Simiat.
All right, thank you so much. It's good to be discussing this particular topic because I know that the only thing Nigerians are looking forward to almost on a daily basis is how we have our homes, powered, and of course the industry's powered so that it can reduce the cost of production and of course cost of things in the society. We'll start by asking you to tell us a brief breakdown of what it means to go with solar. What is solar? Some people will say I'm using inverter, I'm using solar. They use that interchangeably, and I know that they are very different, in their nature. So maybe you start by telling us a bit of what this solar is all about and having it as an alternative in Nigeria.
Well, thank you so very much. Once again, good morning, listeners. The way you have started is a very good one, but I think we should all look at it from the angle that why solar at this point in time. I want to believe it's no longer a news that we find ourselves in this crossroad in terms of energy availability in Nigeria just because of how unreliable our national grid has become. So it's quite unfortunate, but I believe we will get there one of these days. Now, talking about solar, there is this thing about solar. Number one of it is that solar energy is that particular energy that is gotten from the sunlight, from the sun. Solar itself is the sun. Now, when we talk about solar, like I said, it's the energy gotten from the sun that is being trapped by some mechanism, talking about the solar panels, solar cells, precisely, solar panel, and it's now becoming, it's quite unfortunate that it's no longer becoming alternative this time around. It's far becoming the major source of energy source in some homes in Nigeria. Like I said, it's quite unfortunate, but it has gotten to a point in which whoever that wants to stay with power must look around for a means of getting that particular from solar inverter batteries, just like you mentioned. Solar, the energy we get from, there's something about energy. There's a law of conservation of energy which says that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. There's a potential energy indeed the sun, which is solar energy. For us to make use of this solar energy, we need some gadgets like solar panels, inverter, batteries to make it useful for us at home. The energy we get from the sun is direct current, direct energy. And this particular one is in form that cannot be used by us at home because the one we use at home is alternative current energy. So for us to tap into that, we need some solar panels. Majorly solar cell is an electrical cell that picks power from the sunlight by photoelectric effect. When we have a solar cell, you put it, by the time the sun rays comes on it, it picks some charges from it. And that particular charge is picking is there. So it's for us to make it useful, we have to find a way of storing it and making it to power our own. That's where the inverter comes.
Okay.
What we get from sun, like I mentioned, is DC current. And this DC current, majority of our appliances at home uses alternative current. So for us to make use of that particular one, we need to route it through our inverter, probably through battery, to make it give us alternative current, the one we use at home.
Okay, well, the sunlight is free, but the hardware is not. And let's talk about the affordability now, because like you said that it's no longer an alternative. you know, it's with the epilepsy power supply and the rising cost of fuel, so it's with most Nigerians who definitely wants to embrace this. But unfortunately, given the cost to install solar power that will power your TV, your freezer, if you're talking about 1.5 million or 2 million naira, and how many Nigerians can afford that? What about that?
Well, that's the reality of it. And this is because majorly, most of these components, if not all, they are being imported. They are not what we make here. Although, in the recent time, we have solar assembly plant that is coming. I know there is one in Lagos, and very soon there will be another one in Chicago. I would just implore if we can, the government can come in such a manner that the importation of this particular equipment are kind of, if the government can come with policy such that we encourage importation, then the cost will definitely come down. But as we speak now, like you said, the initial cost, the startup cost of installing this particular system tends to be very expensive because those materials, those equipment are being imported, they are not being manufactured here. We talk about the solar panels, which is the one that takes up the light from the sun. We talk about the battery in which the particular charge will be stored. We talk about the inverter that will now convert that particular DC into AC, and every other component that is attached to it. The costing is something that needs to be looked upon. I want to believe those selling the materials, they are businessmen that want to make profit from whatever they find themselves doing. So talking about the cost, I think is in the ball. The government can come with policy that will help in a kind of making the import a much more seamless effort for them.
Is it difficult for us to actually have, like you said, there is a plant that is in Lagos, you said you heard, because part of the argument, maybe we take a break, and of course our second guest, he is around. After this break, please join us.
Yeah, glad to have you back. Join us now to share his expertise on the topic energy crisis, solar as alternative. Is also engineer Amos Okafor, a renewable energy expert. You're welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, viewers.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming. Seniors, you've not landed the other time.
Of course. So I was trying to talk about the plant. Some said, wow, we waited this time. We wasted a lot of time. Sun has always been here with us in Nigeria and this part of the world. And of course, we have to still import. Why is Nigeria and the engineers now? Let me direct the question to the engineer in the house. Why have we not also see the future of energy in Nigeria to have even tapped into it, to creating our own template when it comes to the gadgets needed to actually tap into the sun energy?
Okay. First of all, I would say the one major reason about the Nigerian, because when we talk about the skill, I think we Nigerians have the skill. When you check all over the world, we in terms of technological advancement, we have individuals that have been at the forefront of all technological advancement, both in the medical, in the engineering field, and also in the science field. But I think in Nigeria, I think the major problem we are facing in terms of production is the government. The government, in the sense that there is no much incentive in a way to protect the rights of individuals that want to go into manufacturing. So this product, like the batteries, which we now use the lithium batteries, the raw materials is deposited here in Nigeria. But you will see that currently the people from the other countries come into Nigeria to excavate this raw material, not even manufacturing it here, sending it back to countries like China and the UK and etc. So you will see that this is not really helping the youth or the well-meaning Nigerians that want to go into manufacturing, into production, and that has been a very, very big gap.
Are you saying that the private sectors are not also interested in making money out of all this without necessarily having to bring or allow those people to come in? You know, looking at the future of Nigeria, you know, before now we believe that you know, that's why some people argue that engineers they cannot do this, they cannot do that. Is it still because of the environment that doesn't give us the capacity? Is it the government, or that you know, the needed environment is not created for you to thrive, to ensure that we have the business angle to most of this and bring in private investors to actually do this for us in the country? Yes.
Now, I want to take an example, digress a bit. Now we have a well-working refineries, which is the Dangote refineries currently, and you can also see the cost of oil skyrocketing. And what is the reason? The reason is that from the crude oil, which should be sold to Dangote, is now being shipped outside the country. So what happened? Dangote don't have no choice than to go outside the country to get crude oil. That's why the fuel is going up. So that is the major problem going to happen in the solar energy sector. Now this raw material cannot be, as a Nigerian, for you to get it or for you to buy them, for you to then process and manufacture, it's going to be very, very hard due to the political gas in place in court. So that has been a major problem. But there is still chances for private entrepreneurs, private established bodies to still see how to work with the government to make this work out. But for me, I would say we have the manpower, we have the skills, we have the land, we have the area, but we don't have the government backing. And which
political will.
Yes, political will.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, back to Mr. Shomi. There seems to be proliferation of solar engineers these days. You know, having gone for maybe a 2 weeks training, you hear people say, well, I can install solar, and we have it many. So don't you think there should be some sort of regulation? Because what about the hazards too? I've seen cases of the battery exploding, and even the roof catching a fire. Is solar energy hazardous?
Thank you so very much for that important question. And one of it is that, like it's mentioned, there is this agency, Nigeria Electricity Management Statutory Agency. They are the agency started by the government to issue operating license to individuals and corporate bodies that want to do this. I am much aware that solar experts are meant to be licensed before they can embark on solar projects. Let me say at this point that in solar energy as it is, the technology is a very beautiful one, but those handling it is the question. And one of it is that those that been given the project to undertake, are they licensed? Are they competent? Just like you mentioned, because I've attended a 2-week, 1-month training doesn't make me a licensed solar installer. Now, we have it there, but those are handling it. It's not major thing. Like I said, if you want to take, for example, I want to have a solar project undertaking, the first question will be, who am I undertaking this? Am I licensed to do this? If I'm not licensed, yes, I'm not authorized to do that. It comes back to the government. If there are this agency that is issuing out the license, then who is doing the monitoring? Who is doing the oversight? That's number one issue. Every technology, as good as they are, they have the safety hazard and safety mechanisms to it. When we fail to give the contract, award the project to the right set of people, then we'll be having this issue.
Okay. Now, thank you so much. Engineer Amos Okafor, renewable energy experts. So how do we then differentiate the core professionals from quacks?
First of all, I would say every professional has to have the basic, which is he has to be either in the engineering field, mechanical, electrical, that's graduate with a degree. Then you furthermore on your renewable energy team, you have to get licensed, as my colleague has said here. You have to first be licensed. The license covers a lot, and which is a very core importance for all solar installers. Now, the problem we have currently is when we have a lot of installers flopping around as a solar engineer.
Okay.
So they are installers, they are engineers. It's a two different ballgame. The installers need to follow what they designed before they can mount on the roof. While the engineers are the ones that will critically look at the basic, also the needs of the energy demands they need, and also it will look at what to be included in terms of the safety precautions, the safety mechanisms, and all this.
But just to cut you short, can the engineers also install?
Yes. In some cases, engineer can also be on site.
Okay.
Yes. But for me, for a solar installer, it's like a technician.
Okay.
You get a technician. So when the technician has to have the directives of the engineers. So they have to work hand in hand. But the point we now have is that some installers, they want to, because they know you are using maybe a TV, a fan, a refrigerator. Oh, I have a boss somewhere. He has done something like this. It is a 2 kVA with battery and panels, maybe 4 panels. But he may not know the reason why they use 4 panels on those installation. Maybe they are still required a lot of energy from the grid. So at night, it's still the NEPA, the grid still charge the battery and all that. But an installer can just say, oh, because I've installed with an engineer for like maybe 2 times or 3 times, now I'm a solar installer. So that is why I said certification is very, very important, and licensing is also important. But we, the viewers, should understand that an installer and an engineer are 2 different things. They are
so how
on
do
the
we
same line.
recognize? Do we start to ask for their certification?
I think it's very, very important.
Okay.
It's very, very important we should start to ask for their certification, especially if the installer is not from a reputable company that you know, or that you have seen their decades of work, at least maybe 10 years in the business or so. So, but it's just an installer, maybe a roadside person, you need to ask his certification, because are you going to tell me that if someone comes to you and said he is a doctor, and you don't know him from anywhere, will you allow that person to administer medications on you? That is the question. So you need to ask questions. You need to know where he or she is coming from. Has it been certified? Has it been worked on? What has been his experience? Before you allow that individual to come into your site or to come into your house, is very, very important. Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about safety. Part of what the public is being, the kind of conversation we're now having is around safety, that what kind of battery is detrimental to the health of the people, and what should we subscribe to when these installers or engineers are coming to propose for us. I recently watched a particular video, a clip on Facebook where you know, the apropos doctor was trying to tell us about a particular battery and the likes. So how do we get that fixed when we are asking for installers to come install for us?
Okay. I will say that every technological advancement is a plus to the humanity. Apropos doctor then was talking about the lead acid battery, which is popularly called the tubular battery, which we have sulfuric acid inside and all that. Now, this battery is being designed not to be placed inside your house. But I think because of some aesthetics and because of some work, we will tell you as a client that, don't worry, you put it inside your house, you are good. There are some batteries meant for inside the building, like the lithium batteries, which is more advanced than the lead acid battery. So, for you, safety first. In terms of you want to, I can't say you should go for a lithium battery or you should go for a tubular battery, but depending on your engineer specification and the reason why, he will tell you that, okay, with this reason, maybe because of cost. So, like now, if you are to tell us to everybody to start using lithium battery, that is a very good, nice idea. But the cost attached to the lithium battery is on the very high side. For you to get a lithium battery of a 5 kilowatt, which equivalently, I can say if I want to equivalently to the tubular battery, I can say maybe two pieces or 3 pieces of tubular battery, which tubular battery currently at around 250,000, which is total package of like 750,000 for you to get that. But for you to get a lithium battery, you spend at least $1 million or 1.2, the max. So you see, in terms of cost, customer or we, well-meaning Nigeria, can decide on which of these batteries to use, which they have their own terms and conditions of usage. And also, then the engineer can now, depending on the batteries, can now advise the customer to go for, okay, this battery will be installed outside your building, maybe your veranda, maybe the outskirts of your house, but also something like fire extinguisher should be made in place. Now we use, most of the installation going right now is that we use the fire extinguisher ball, which once there is any explosion or any cause of fire, the ball is always mounted directly beside this device or this component.
So what are the things that actually make it or trigger it to the point of an explosion? What are the things that we should watch out for?
Yeah, the first thing you should watch out for is undersizing, under cable sizing. I mean, I think most of the spark or the fire outbreak caused by solar system are coming from the under cable sizing, meaning that if you have a cable, depending on your load and depending on the current coming from the panels, these have a selected cable sizing to use. But because of some quacks around, some places they have to use about maybe 10 mm cable sizing. They will be using maybe 4 mm or 6 mm just to cut down cost. And that is the reason why sometimes when you are giving a quote as a customer, you need to ask questions. You need to ask, why are you giving me this instead of this? So, but majorly, because we are Nigerians, most of us used to look at, oh, I want something within my budget, and I still wanted to do this particular thing. So I think the major cause of fire outbreaks on solar power systems are undersized cables and overloaded inverters. When you are expecting to use an inverter of 10 kVA, maybe due to cost, trying to cut corners, you use an inverter of 6 kVA, and with the load is running, it gets too hot, then the cables start to melt. And at some point, from melting, then it picks up fire. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, Mr. Showme, aside household needs, industries is also an alternative, is an option for industries.
Yes, one good thing is that depending on the load requirement, like he rightly mentioned, The very first thing is to kind of have an assessment of load. What do you intend to power with this particular setup I'm trying to do? That will inform the design of what I'm going to put in place. But I must say that even at the long run, our heavy industries are better positioned on the grid because of the capacity, the machine, the attenuation, and all those things. Don't get me wrong, not as if the solar can't take it. But again, one thing about solar system is that the battery that is saving this energy always has the capacity and has the strength. But I must say it that even at that, what we are getting from the grid is much more stronger compared to the battery. Take for example, if I'm installing an inverter at a place and the setup says I'm using a 5 kVA inverter for example, and I'm using a 10 kilowatt hour battery to power it, the battery will work fine when I'm putting such load on it. But by the time I'm putting my iron, electric kettle, even those that the size of the inverter can still accommodate, I know that it's doing that at the detriment to the battery. Because of the high load of these our factories and high power industry, it will be advisable for them to stay on the grid. That's why we see that even in town, what we see those big companies use is they use generator space. They use generator engine to do that. Not that the inverter can't power it, but it will be at a very huge cost in which something from the grid or from a generator can give them something better at the long run.
Okay, thank you. Now, Engineer Okafor, there are dynamics now. People also talk about, I think, solar generators. In fact, there are talks which is even better. The inverter, or just having a solar generator, then you have your panel, supplying, the solar generator. And we have companies now that produce, I wouldn't want to mention names, that produce these solar generators. So how safe are these solar generators, and which one is better? Is it to have an inverter, the battery? Because I know that the solar generator, couples the battery and the inverter, like 2-in-1, kind of arrangement. So which one is better, and how safe are these generators?
Okay. The major design, the reason for a solar generator is a short usage, meaning that if you have blackout, you just want to use it with a period of time, and maybe about 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, just for not constantly. That was the main reason why the solar generators was brought to Nigeria. But you see, at this time, we should now also understand that because solar generators have some capacity of load it could take, we should understand that it's just for a short period of time. Now, depending on the product, depending on the make of these solar generators, it cannot come in age, like in the same level of the proper solar system. It cannot perform that. So if you have a solar generator, you are just use it for your menial loads, your fan, your TV, your lights, charging of phones, laptops, and little gadgets. It is not
about freezer.
Yes. No. For me, I don't advise to use it for freezers or for every other load like that, because what will happen to the solar generators is that because of the solar generators, they have a level of the battery that is used to be inside. Mostly, sometimes we have the lithium batteries, while sometimes we have the gel lead acid batteries. But let's just say you have a lithium batteries for the solar generators. There is a capacity it can hold. So, and it is not advisable to run down your battery to the zero, to the barest minimum, which this will now affect the lifeline of the battery. So, for my own advice, using solar generators for your menial loads is perfect if you don't have the capacity to do the major solar set you should go for, but not to substitute it for the normal standard set. If you are running a building, for example, you want to use a solar generator for your house, if you are a student, you don't have a problem. But if you have about 3, 4, 5 bedrooms, you have freezers, you have And some people do some things to on a solar generator for AC. What happens is that it will damage that battery. And when it damages that battery, or before it damages that battery, it can cause a fire outbreak because overheating will come in, overloading will come in, then when heat started to come in, then this component, because they are electronics components, they are being embedded in the board. And when heat is too much, when there is no required cooling agent or cooling system to cool down this heat, what will happen to it? It starts to melt. So when you have batteries, the inverters and everything embedded in one pack, so you should be noting that you should make sure that the overheating does not reach a point. Because when it reaches a point, the temperature of the battery increases, the temperature of the inverter increases, every of the circuits inside it starts to.
So is there no technology to control that? You know, there are some inverters or solar inverters that you see, or solar installation, so that when the load is getting too much, it trips off by itself. Is there no need for every installer to actually use that to curtail the excesses, or to also regulate the accidents that one could get? That's one. The second question has to do with the challenges you've talked about, the quackery, the safety involved. Can government be in charge of this, or should government create an agency that would, just like they do for the grid now, where of course if you have to do anything inside the poles or the transformer, you have to go get someone from their offices. So can government be in charge of regulating this, and of course providing experts to install for individuals?
Okay. First, I would from the first question when you said this overheating and all that. Yes, that was why from the first thing I said you should not use your solar generators for heavy loads. They are not meant for that. So if you use them for heavy loads, your AC, your water heater, your freezers,
irrespective of the capacity of the generator,
of the solar generator, it will develop a very good amount of heat. And the cooling system inside is not so big. Like let's talk about the fans, for instance. For the fans in the proper inverter setup is more bigger, is more complex. And when you talk about the ventilation, so the ventilation, when you install your system in a proper ventilation area, you are good to go, which is natural. And also, you can still put in maybe AC in that room, or you put any fans in that room. But when you are using a solar generator, mostly solar generator is not usually kept outside. It's always kept inside the room or inside the apartment. So the temperature and also the temperature around it will give that room to increase of temperature. Then in the aspect of the government intervention coming in to regulate the installers and all that, I think it's a very good one if the government starts that. It's a very, very good one, because that will curb a lot of quacks in the industry right now.
So should we rely on the engineers to come up with sanctions and of course regulations that effect?
Yeah, I think before the government, because I know this takes time. It takes time. So before this happens, I think the individuals should rely on reputable companies that has past records, that has been in the system for at least minimum of 10 years. Because minimum of 10 years is okay, a decade is fine. So that will give you a sense of quality assurance, and with all what they have done so far, because they have referrals, they have people that have done jobs for, and the kind of jobs they do. So I think with that you are good. But if government comes in, that will go a long way.
Okay. So Mr. Shomi, but what about solar farms? Because I know that there are quite some countries now that invest so much in solar farms, maybe for a community, for a state. How feasible is that? Is this something the Nigerian government should also look into, particularly maybe for institutions?
Well, thank you so very much. It all boils down to the load you intend to power with your solar system. Like as you see it now, we can solar farms, even for all these solar system we do around, we have solar PV arrays. That is the number of solar panels that you are bringing together. It's always a function of what you want to do. Take for example, the inverter is the equipment that carries the load. Let's say the need of this particular community is 20 kVA, for example, you need a 25 kVA inverter. Now, what brings about the solar farm is, okay, for this 25 kVA inverter, I need something like, let me say, 30 kilowatt hour battery backup, depending on how many hours I want this to work off grid. So, the requirement for the backup time will now inform the solar array that we need. Then we'll be talking about solar farms and the like. Even the solar farm, the capacity, it's always a function. Take, for example, as big as Abeokuta is, there's a possibility for a solar system that can accommodate all the load. Just be talking about the size where the solar farm we're talking about. So it's always a function of what needs to be fulfilled. If, for example, if my 2-bedroom apartment, my load demand is just a 10 kVA system, I might need a solar array of, let's say, a certain number of panels. There's a design mechanism for that. So the solar farm is a very suitable thing. It's very, very much possible. It's always a function of what purpose, what size of load I want this particular system to energize, to carry. So that will inform the size and the capacity of the solar. But the most important thing is that the solar is concerned about charging the battery. So it's a function of what load, how long do I want this battery to serve me. Okay, it's a 20 kilowatt hour battery. I will need a so amount of solar system to charge it for a 5-hour duration or a 10-hour duration. Then that will inform what size of solar farm we're talking about. But the most important thing is, nothing is impossible. The source from which we are getting this energy is there. It's massive. We cannot exhaust it. We cannot exhaust it. So it's just a matter of what capacity we have, and then how much resources is available, because all these things are highly capital intensive, and that's the reason why most people are not venturing into it, and that's why the government must come on board to come to the aid of this particular project and the likes.
Okay.
Government coming to the aid of, okay, government is going solar. Hope you know Astor Rock is going solar.
Yes, Astor is going solar.
Is this to say that one day the government will actually add that as part of, the challenges of discourse, and is this not going to create conflict of interest along the line?
I'm sure you are aware about the Electricity Act 2023 as amended. Okay. This has actually empowered government, even at the state level, to generate, manage, and distribute their energies. It is left for the government.
Can the solar energy be distributed?
Yes, it can. It's just a function of what do I have. Just like I said, okay, let's say I have an estate now, about 10, 15 buildings, and we have the capacity, we have investors, we have entrepreneurs that really want to go into this. They can generate this power. And okay, let me shock you. Even this solar system, we have 3 types. We have grid-type tap, we have off-grid, and we have hybrid. In some countries, I think Tanzania, or if I'm not in Tanzania, there are 95% of their solar system there is grid-tied. And what do I mean? They have solar panels, they have inverter, they do not have battery. Because one major component of that particular system in Nigeria today is the battery. Like you mentioned, to get a 5 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery is $1 million plus. Now, what they do in Tanzania is that when I have my inverter, I have my solar panel, my inverter is connected to the grid. Whenever the panel takes charges from the sun, it's taking it to the grid. And my load will be supplied from the grid. There used to be a 2-channel meter, call it 2-phase meter. The meter will be measuring what I'm taking from the sunlight and what I'm passing to the grid and what is coming here. In that sense, it's safe cost. At the end of the day, the utility company might need to pay me. When they see what I'm generating from my solar panel is much more less than what I'm consuming. But these are initiatives that can be taken up by the government. But unfortunately, the grid to be tied that to is not that reliable. And that's the reason why we have found ourselves in this particular position now. But if the government is doing the needful, it can be handled seamlessly. Now, back to the Nigeria system. We have hybrid inverters. These hybrid inverters are meant to be operated with the help of solar panels and solar cells, charging the battery, and at the same time connected to the grid. So that whenever the grid is available, it charges my system. It's charging my system, though at a cost now. Unlike the Tanzania one I said, although at a cost now. So it's charging my system such that I can manage the inverter. I can tend to program the inverter in such a way that whenever the grid is available, power my air conditioner, power the heavy loads, so as to save my battery. But unfortunately, or let me say, where we are today, but the good thing is that it's very, very possible, and I want to believe the government one day or the other will come to the aid and do the needful with respect to the. And lastly, like I said in the Electricity Act, the ball has been passed to whoever that is interested to do. Independent investor can come on board, generate this thing, and try to sell it. Even the state government, I think they should do something of such nature, such that there will be availability of this energy for people to be able to pick from.
Okay. Now, Engineer Okafor, in some quarters, it is believed that solar energy is meant to complement the electricity, coming from the grid, particularly at the micro level. Because I've seen people having installed, solar, they go off grid. Yeah. So you see the solar now working, 24/7. Is it really meant to complement, or can one bank on it fully? Is it advisable to go off grid because of solar?
Currently, I have gone off grid. I stay in a 4-bedroom apartment. I have my office running on solar. I have my house running on solar 24/7. How do I do this? It's just very simple. I know the amount of load I'm using during the day. Then I convert that amount of load, the amount of battery banks I need for 16 hours. So that gives me what amount of battery I need and the amount of panels I need. Now, I've been running since last year till today, as we are speaking, on solar, no grid attached at all. This is very, very possible. Even I've been able to also distribute electricity to about 2 of my neighbors that they are also using from that solar, 24 hours. On the side, I'm getting
irrespective of the loads there.
Irrespective of the load. But in the point, we will come in contact to see what are the loads you want to put on it, then I will give you what you want. Now,
so do you sell that, or
is it for free?
For free.
So the thing is, we
just want to know whether there is a possibility of coming together. If you have an estate or you have neighbors, you can come together, own this because of the cost of it. That's why we asked that question.
We have there is a building we have worked on. We are working on the second building currently. With this, we have about 8 flats on this building, and this 8 flats wanted to run on solar 24 hours. So we told them it's very simple. Everybody has an investment of 1 million. Then once we get this investment of 1 million from this 8 flats, that's 8 million. Then we get a proper structured system. They are not using AC, just out of it. But all the buildings are using their freezer, their lighting points, their fans, and all that, apart from AC. And they have been running on solar currently for 6 months right now. Now, that 1 million, if they had maybe they're on band A, for instance, if they have been able to buy like maybe 100 units or so, they will be spending like, for them to have 24 hours use lights every week, they are spending close to 50,000 per week. So that means in a month, that's 200,000. Then for 6 months, that's about 1.2 million. And with just their investment of 1 million each at 8 million, they have a system that runs them 24 hours every day. The only thing is that if you want to put on your AC, you have to put it either during the day, around from the point of 11 till around 3 p.m. So, but we already set up a device for them whereby we can control it without being there. Because Solar Act already be advanced to some point that you don't need to put on your inverter, you don't need to put off your inverter with your mobile phone. There are some devices now in place when we install that you can control your appliances, anything through your phone. And it comes to a time whereby if you want it to go off at a particular point, maybe from, oh, let it go off by 3 p.m., let it go off by 2 p.m., it do that very, very easy. So solar is for me personally, for my own opinion personally, is not an alternative, it's a substitute. Because for me, I've been able to explore around the solar world and see that just like my bike, I traveled, we are now using EV electric vehicle. If I want to travel now, I call a colleague of mine, he has an EV electric vehicle, we travel through his car, we don't buy fuel. Maybe I want to go around the area.
What about the car? Do we have the infrastructure already?
Yeah, how do you charge?
How do we charge? Yes, my system charges the EV vehicle.
The solar?
Yes, the solar system. I have a 10 kV inverter with about 45 kilowatt lithium battery. So now the power consumption from my EV vehicle, charging my EV vehicle is about 1,002. That is what is required for it to charge. That's the power it takes from the battery. So and in the period of 5 hours, it will be from 0 to 100. So the electric bike I also own also works on charging. It consumes just about 300 to 500 watts. So I charge that for about 5 hours, it's full. So when you talk about the, I don't spend anything on the diesel, the fuel, because I now have...
Is this really a threat to the established
should discourse. Should they be afraid now?
Should they up their game?
The Gencos, the discos.
Because every time you get to hear they don't have supplies, that's why they are not distributing, you know. That's why.
Do you know a lot of them are closed down right now, power generation are closed down. It's not even because of the government. It's because of the discos, the distribution companies have not paid them. And we, as a Nigeria, are paying the distribution company, and distributors say they don't have money to pay the people generating the light. And that's the really issue why a lot of don't have light currently, and a lot of places don't have light. Now, the point is this. If the solar energy comes in properly, everybody has solar, it will make the distribution company or the generation company to step up, because they are living off the detriment of Nigerians. If Nigerians have another alternative, I am suggesting that even estates, well-meaning Nigerians, communities, to start going into solar fully, generate the energy, distribute it to the neighborhood. If there is a fee on it, if the government wants to take tax, fine, let them do that.
Okay, I was almost asking that question, that one day, as you're going, like you're not paying anything, you're not buying fuel, one day government will come and say you have to pay a certain amount.
I think tax will make us make the government be accountable to us.
Okay.
When you are in a situation whereby you don't pay tax, your government is not accountable. If you say government, you need water, they'll say we don't have money to do this.
On solar, we're talking about on solar.
Yes, but on solar, particularly, if there is tax on we the users, then I think there will be benefit from the incentives on maybe the importation rates and all other benefits that comes.
Okay, well, our time is fast spent. I think we have to go now. I would have wanted to ask about the maintenance burden, because 2-3 years, I think in the space of 2 to 3 years, you have to change the battery. Then, the panel accommodates the dust, so you have to get professionals that will get to the roof and clean all that, of course, and that costs money.
No, it's because of stipend number.
Stipend? Okay. What about the battery? 2-3 years, you have to replace the lithium batteries.
No. The lithium batteries could go on to about 10 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, anyway. Thank you so much, Mr. Nofiu Showumi, the Secretary, Licensed Electrical Contractors Association of Nigeria, Ogun State Chapter, of course, energy experts, and Engineer Amos Okafor, renewable energy experts. I feel you can also become one of the investors, because I don't know why the investors are really not invested in solar stuff, but maybe better days are ahead. Well, this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of New Dawn. Simiat, you have to go.
Thank you so much for watching. We know you have been educated and, of course, enlightened more on this particular topic we discussed today. Keep watching the People's Telly. Friday will be another edition of New Dawn. Bye for now.